Hello there, welcome to today's edition of the Only Endometriosis podcast you need. Today we're going to be looking at how to minimise the impact of your symptoms over the festive period. So it's not necessarily looking at reducing symptoms, it's not even looking necessarily at curtailing your activities over Christmas. But I know that a lot of people get worried when it comes to the holiday season. People have got to make trips, people have got guests, relatives, friends coming over. It's a really, really busy period, and that can strike fear into a lot of women. So initially these conversations that I have tend to be around menopause symptoms, but even if it's not the menopause you're struggling with, even if it's endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, or even if you just struggle with difficult periods, PMDD especially, it can be quite an overwhelming time, the run up to Christmas. So this podcast is designed to give you a little bit of reassurance that you have way more control over things than you may think you have at the moment, and to give you permission to be yourself. Because the first tip I have is to kind of accept that things might go a little bit awry. That might be too strong a word, but you might well have a flare-up. You might well have mood swings. You might well have things that impact on your Christmas, and that is absolutely fine. You are perfectly entitled and perfectly allowed to feel exactly as you are feeling. We kind of don't really think too much of it. I know I've had conversations these last few weeks with women who kind of, when we reflect on Christmases when we were younger, we sort of think, oh yeah, I remember my mum getting really angsty and getting all upset because the parsnips weren't cooked right, or and then I said, well, what about your dad? Oh yeah, he was just grumpy the whole time. We kind of put a lot of pressure on women and on ourselves to be perfect at Christmas. And I think, again, a lot of this is media perpetuated. A lot of it is adverts. It's like the perfect Christmas dinner coming out all at the same time, all the family laughing and sitting around a table. And I don't know anybody who has Christmases like that. But I think in our heart of hearts, we maybe all are striving for that. And we do hold ourselves to high standards, and we do hold ourselves to higher standards than we possibly do other members of our family. So the first thing to do is to give yourself permission to feel exactly how you're feeling. There's nothing wrong with being upset, there's nothing wrong with being tearful, or even angry if you need to be angry. These are all very, very valid emotions. Be very, very gentle with yourself, and don't criticise yourself. That inner critic is massively, massively powerful. So don't criticise yourself. If you do feel overwhelmed, give yourself permission to take breaks during the festive period. If you need to book a whole day out where you just sit and watch films, that's absolutely fine. Rest is productive. You'll have heard in my previous podcasts this year about how essential rest is for managing our symptoms, for healing ourselves, and that doesn't change just because it's Christmas. So if you need to take a 20-minute power nap, if you need to take some time out, go and read a book, sit down and watch Love Actually for 50 times, saying that for a friend, that's absolutely fine. Give yourself permission to do whatever you need to do to feel the best you can feel. And I'm going to give you some more sort of tips as well, but that's the key to this. Christmas is exactly the same as any other time. You are perfectly valid. Your feelings, emotions are perfectly valid. So do not be harder on yourself just because you may have different expectations to other times of the year. So again, just another general tip, as much as you can, stick to your routine. So if you have rituals that you already do to manage your symptoms, to keep yourself feeling the best you can feel, stick to those as much as you can. And do a bit of planning as well. So if you know that you're not going to be able to do what you need to do or what you normally do to keep yourself feeling okay, then plan alternative things in. Or again, just journal, just give yourself permission not to do those rituals, but do something else that's going to make you feel good. We can really be thrown sometimes, especially around Christmas, because it's dark. It does throw up uncomfortable situations. We're sometimes forced to spend time with people who we don't know how to say this politely, but that we don't necessarily want to spend a lot of time with, and that can be really, really difficult for people. A lot of people spend time with families, and families are notorious when it comes to not understanding women's symptoms and not giving us space or necessarily respect, excuse me, to foster that happy and healthy environment. So again, if you are struggling with rituals, just do what you can in the space that you have. But do prioritise consistency wherever you can. So still try and eat regular meals, still try and get to your normal sleep routine, your sleep rituals, your movement if you're sort of going away, if you can still build in as much movement as you can. And again, that doesn't need to look like a 10k run. It can just be gentle qigong, it can even just be a stomach massage, it can be tensing and untensing muscles. All of this is still movement, so build in whatever movement you can. Christmas walks. I know loads of people who don't normally go for walks, but at Christmas they're suddenly like, right, we're out for a walk. Fabulous. Go for a quick walk, even if it's just 10-15 minutes. And I know this sounds a little bit weird, maybe. I don't know. I think it's quite nice. But if you are travelling, get yourself a little travel kit made up. So something that's just put loads of things in a nice bag or in something that makes you feel good, not just a carrier bag, but pop it full of everything that is going to be a comfort to you if you're away. So things like, anything that will help you with your normal rituals. So things like herbal teas, crystals, essential oils. If you're travelling on public transport or even in a car, take a travel pillow, your favourite pillow, your favourite perfume, anything that's going to help raise your vibrations while you're away. But pre-plan it, have it in a box, because that will just give you reassurance and comfort that you know you've already got something that's going to help you feel calm and feel positive over the festive period. Even if you're staying at home, make sure that you've got everything you need. So quite often we have things in spare rooms, we have things all over the house. So again, just making up a little, almost like Christmas hamper for yourself, so you know that everything you need is in easy reach, and that you can call on it whenever you need to. So again, some general tips. Now I'm going to be really hypocritical. One of the key things that people say, that they, with a capital T, that they say, is to minimise sugar and minimise alcohol. And again, it's something that I talk about a lot with my clients, and in podcasts as well. But over Christmas, it's even harder than normal. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say stay off the booze. As somebody who's already drunk one bottle of port that they had in for the Christmas cabinet, I'm not going to be a hypocrite and talk about not drinking or not even reducing sugar, because again, as somebody who can eat my body weight in toffees, this is not going to be helpful for me. But again, just be mindful of the impact that sugar and caffeine and alcohol has on your body. Now, some people it doesn't impact at all, and that's absolutely brilliant. But if it does, just be mindful of the effect it's having, both physical and emotional. It can. So if we're overindulging, I mean, we know how a hangover affects you individually, or if you eat too much sugar, the bloating or the inflammation, however it manifests for you. And just be mindful that if you're doing that more over Christmas, again, just a little bit of planning and a little bit of permission. So if you know that it's gonna hurt the next morning, then make sure you've got the ability just to be gentle with yourself that next morning. So if you need to have a lie-in, if you have a ritual that makes you feel better, just make sure you have space to carry out whatever you need to in the following the overindulgence. And again, stay hydrated. I can't overemphasize the importance of water over this festive period. It's cold, it's dark, we need to stay massively hydrated. And if we're overindulging, if we're eating crappy food, if we're drinking alcoholic drinks, then the likelihood of us getting dehydrated is even higher. So if you can keep sipping water all day, every day, just make sure you're hydrated, and that will massively mitigate the impact of any kind of bad food. I don't want to say bad food because there's nothing bad about it. It's just the impact that it has. So it will massively mitigate the impact. And again, if we're eating a lot of junk food, just try and balance that out with having healthy stuff as well. Life is all about balance. I am not, and if you work with me, you know that I'm not one for saying. In fact, I completely disagree with restrictive diets. I completely disagree with anything that stops you essentially being happy. So I'm not going to sit here and say don't do this and don't do that. But just, if you can, just do what you can to mitigate the impact of whatever you're doing on your own day the next day. And again, just give yourself permission to do all of those things. Just give yourself space, plan space in, so that you can generally say, and tell people around you as well, if that helps. Right, okay, we're going out on this day, but tomorrow I'm going to do this, so please, this is what I need you to do. Set boundaries and let other people know those boundaries, and ask for their help as well. If you have kids, or if kids are staying with you and you know they're going to be noisy on a particular day, just say, look, I need some time today. Can you take the kids out? Set those boundaries and ask people to help. So I want to talk a little bit specifically about mood swings, because I know that this is something that massively gets people worried over Christmas, more so than the physical symptoms. Physical symptoms we can kind of cope with, and it's easier as well for people to say, look, my stomach's flaring, I'm just going to go and lie down. People kind of seem to accept that, but there seems to be less acceptance and more fear around the emotional impact. So I'm just going to talk specifically now about sort of mood swings and the emotional impact of our symptoms, and how we can plan for, how we can mitigate the impact that these have. So again, if you track your symptoms, you know I talk about this a lot, but if you track your symptoms, if you know what triggers you, if you know how you're going to feel through the festive period, if you know it's a certain time of your cycle and you feel less energetic, more moody, in inverted commas, which I really don't like that word, but if you know that that's how you're going to be feeling, again, plan for that, accept that that's going to happen, and don't be hard on yourself. Don't make light of it, don't kind of make a joke out of it, but do talk to people around you. Just kind of say, look, I know that it's going to be a difficult time for me, these are my triggers, please can you help? You don't have to say it in those terms, but you know what I mean. Accept that, you're not a robot, you are human, you have emotions, and as women we have complex emotions. They are linked to our hormones, they are linked to our triggers. Most women carry trauma in some degree, and that is all linked, part and parcel of our fabulousness. But the flip side of that is that we can be emotional, exactly the same as men, but we don't give men the same like I said earlier, we don't give men the same kind of hassle for being grumpy. Oh, he's just being grumpy. Whereas we seem to criticise or to feel it, especially within ourselves, a lot more. So build mood buffers into your schedule. So again, take naps, take a book. If you I was going to do a bit of a pitch there. You know what, I'm going to. I have a 41 Days to Fabulous programme. And if you've started that, you'll know that... or even if you finished it, some people have actually finished it. If you've done it, or if you've embarked on that journey, then you'll know that we only have to build small things into every day to make ourselves feel good. So plan something in every day that's going to make you feel good. If the 41 Days to Fabulous is something that would help, then there is a discount. If you put podcast in at the checkout, there's a discount. I can't remember how much it is. Could be 20%, but I can't remember. Might be 10. Don't hate me if it's 10. Might be 20, might be 25. I don't know. But there's a bit of a discount there if you put podcast in at checkout. But yeah, build those kind of activities into every day. So that could be something, like I say, it's something as simple as a 20-minute power nap. It could be reading 10 pages of a book. It could be just putting on your favourite song. But just build in every day, do something that's going to make you feel good. So in amongst all the chaos, in amongst all the potential negativity or whatever negative mood you're feeling, just build yourself in something that will make your soul sing, that will raise your vibration so you're feeling a lot heavier. And again, keep that survival kit. I talked about having a Christmas kit if you're travelling, but even if you're staying at home, have that kit handy so that you can reach into it and get your favourite perfume, your favourite essential oil, bath salts if you want to have a bath. Everything that you need to feel good is easily accessible, and you don't need to sort of think about where it is. And again, like I say, set expectations. So don't overcommit, which is something that I know most of us struggle with, especially at Christmas. Christmas can bring out, I was going to say our worst traits, but it's not necessarily a bad trait, but Christmas can augment personality traits in all of us. And if our personality trait is a people pleaser, if our personality trait is to overcommit and not to say no to anything, then be very, very mindful of that. And if you need to ask family members, if you need to ask other people to help you set those barriers, then that's absolutely fine. In fact, it can be a really good way of strengthening relationships during the Christmas period as well. If there are people around you who you can rely on, who you can ask to help you with your buffers, who you can ask to help with your own well-being, then that can really strengthen that relationship, and you can sort of almost like attack Christmas as a team rather than feeling isolated. So talk about your needs to your families, to your friends, to anybody who you're going to be spending time with, and just communicate that. And it's really it sounds really simple. It actually can be quite difficult to do. There's a podcast that I did earlier this year about having difficult conversations. So if you need to check that one out, do. And it's not always as easy as just simply saying stuff. But once you can do that, if you can communicate what you need to your friends and family in advance of any situation, then you'll find that it alleviates a massive amount of the pressure, because you're not worrying. When we're talking about anxiety, when we're talking about worrying, we're talking about catastrophizing, we're talking about the worst case scenario, and planning things meticulously in advance, even if it doesn't happen, even if it doesn't stick to that plan, the act of planning, the act of risk mitigation in effect, goes a long way to alleviate anxiety. And if we're not anxious, the chances of us having these mood swings are minimised. So communicate your needs to your family and friends in advance, and if you can ask for their help, or just tell them the boundaries that you need to maintain, then that's even better. And like I say, you don't have to say yes to everything. Saying no is actually a massive act of self-care. And it's not an easy thing to do. I remember in a job, it was years ago, I think it was the first job I had when I moved, and somebody said to me that saying no is not a rejection of the person, it's a rejection of the request. And that was a really nice way for me to start to reframe saying no. So when you say no to somebody, you're not saying no to that person, you're not rejecting that person, you're just rejecting, with a very small and gentle R, the request they're making. And a really, really good way of sort of making yourself feel better until you get more in the habit of saying no is to offer up an alternative. So if they ask you something and you say no because you don't want to do it, don't just say no, blanket no. Of course you can do, but if you're struggling with that, then come up with an alternative. So do you want to go out tonight? No, I'm not feeling great, but actually, if you're around on Sunday, I'd love to go for a walk. You're not rejecting the person, you're just rejecting that request. So don't say yes to everything, don't overcommit. But again, the flip side of that is, and it's something that I really struggled with when my anxiety peaks, I tend to say no to a lot of things, when actually saying yes would be really good for my mental well-being as well. So emotionally speaking, check in with your gut, check in with your emotions. And if something really does make your soul sing, if you want to do something but you have different anxieties around it, then say yes. But again, communicate your needs. I'd absolutely love to do that. But whatever it is that's holding you back, and ask for support in order to be able to do it. Hope that makes sense. And again, share those responsibilities. You're not the Christmas elf. You're not the Christmas fairy. You don't have to do everything yourself. So share responsibilities, set boundaries, ask people to support you. Like I say, we do put a heck of a lot of responsibility on ourselves for that perfect Christmas. So share that responsibility, share that burden. And again, that will strengthen relationships and strengthen your mood and strengthen your well-being, as well as for other people as well. Because people don't want, the ultimate thing is people don't want to see you stressed. People don't want to see you upset or emotional. It makes them feel bad, which I know is really selfish of them. Who do they think they are? Do they not know what I'm going through? But they don't want to see you like that. So if they know how they can help as well, that will make them feel better as well. Not that this is about them. This is all about you, and rightly so. So again, build mood boosters. I was going to say, mood boosters. Build things into your rituals, into every day, that are going to make you feel better, that are going to raise your vibrations. So prioritise things that will help regulate your hormones, regulate your mood in the run-up to the Christmas period. So again, eat regular food. For some reason, our eating habits go completely out of the window at Christmas. I know for a fact that Christmas morning, I will be starting breakfast with an alcoholic drink and possibly a Terry's chocolate orange. I mean, on what other day? Well, I've got to be very careful. No, what other day would I start with a glass of fizz and a Terry's chocolate orange? So, and it's perfectly acceptable. Nobody really bats an eyelid, and that's absolutely fine. But don't do that too much. Prioritise having regular food, good food, that balanced diet. Chocolate, booze is fine. Just make sure you're having all the other stuff, especially in the run-up to Christmas. The more healthy, in inverted commas, you can be, the more balanced you can be, the more at peace you can feel in the run up to Christmas, then the easier it is to regulate your symptoms, to regulate your moods. And that sounds awful because we don't really need to regulate our moods, but in terms of feeling like you're going to be able to cope, the best thing to do is to prioritise your well-being in the run-up to the festive period. Make sure you're hydrated and move your body exactly like you would do if you're on a bit of a health kick. So again, go out for walks, massages, whatever it is that you do. Keep fit, the gym. Do your normal routine as much as you can over the Christmas period. And again, a festive playlist, essential oils, cinnamon's really nice, olive oil, orange oil and cinnamon are lovely around these times of the year. You get your ferns as well, really Christmassy scent. Make sure you're using good quality oils. Actually, I might do a podcast on essential oils, but don't use anything that says blend. Don't use anything that says fragrance. Make sure the essential oils that you're buying are really good quality, and I do have some affiliate links as well somewhere. If you want to be certain of the quality of oils that you're buying. But I use two. I use Tisserand and Kobayashi, I think they're called. But both of those are really good quality oils. And I really like putting, pine, orange, cinnamon, those kind of Christmassy scents can really boost your mood. If you have a real fire as well, just popping a couple of drops of good quality essential oil onto the wood before you put the wood on the fire. Leave it a while for it to soak in properly, but as the fire's burning, it releases all the scents, and it smells really lovely. It's a really nice thing to do. Again, mindfulness breaks. If you're making pigs in blankets, just make them mindfully. Feel the feels, smell the smells. Just live in the moment. Again, mindfulness, living in the moment, takes away anxiety, takes away depression. We are just simply living in that moment, and that's a beautiful way to be. So build as many moments of those into the normal Christmas mundane planning and doing as you can. And plan for curveballs, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Like I say, Christmas can bring up really complex emotions for us. We spend time with people who we don't necessarily spend a lot of time around. There can be difficult dynamics, both within friendship groups and families. You might be struggling with grief, you might be struggling with trauma, or even just the stress and strain of having a good day. So just give yourself space to feel all those feelings. None of those feelings are bad. None of those feelings are invalid. And give yourself space to feel like that. Have some sort of grounding technique. So if you start to feel any of those feelings, you can just bring yourself back to the present. Tapping is a really good way. If you've done that, again, I might do a podcast on that. Watch this space. But tapping is a really nice way to be grounded. Breathing exercises. You'll know, again, if you've worked with me, that I love a good breathing exercise. So breathe abdominally. A really nice way to ground yourself is just to plant your feet on the floor. So kind of actively stand, which might sound a bit weird if you haven't done it before, but you kind of push your feet down into the ground. So normally when we're standing, we just stand, we just be, we just are. But if you actively stand, you're pushing your feet gently into the ground. And that, it has a couple of effects. It kind of grounds us, but it also starts to increase the blood flow gently and increase the energy flow as well. So it's a really nice technique. And if that doesn't quite cut the mustard, another thing to add on to that is so you're gently pushing your feet down into the ground, and just imagine roots coming down from your feet down into the ground and really planting you. That's a really powerful way. In fact, that's the first grounding technique I ever learned, and that must have been about 2002. I learnt that grounding technique, and it served me well right up until the current day. So that's a really, really nice way of just grounding yourself. And just accept that stuff is going to happen. The turkey might burn. I was just had a flash there of my mum, bless her, who we have an old Arga type cooker. And one year my mum did some beautiful, well, I presume it would have been beautiful, garlic and bacon mushrooms or something. And she forgot to take them out of the little warming oven at the bottom. And we found them after a few glasses of wine. Late on Christmas Day, and yeah, you couldn't tell there were mushrooms. That stuff's going to happen. Just give yourself permission. Laugh it off if you're feeling like you want to laugh it off. Laugh it off. If you're not feeling like you want to laugh it off, that's absolutely fine. You are perfectly entitled to be annoyed or to be angry. But again, find yourself a grounding technique, find yourself something to bring yourself back to the present so that it doesn't have a lasting negative impact on the rest of the day. And again, get yourself outside, even if that's just opening a window and breathing in fresh air. That fresh air, that nature is going to really massively help. So even if you don't feel as if you have time, try and make time. But if you really don't feel as if you have time to get outside, then just opening a window, listening to the birds, listening to the little festive robins and sniffing that air outside will have a massively grounding effect. And then lastly, well, not quite lastly, but the last tip is you remember me talking about your RAS, which I can never say, the reticulate, yes, that activating system at the back. I've heard loads of people talk about it this week, but that could be because I've been talking about it, which is the RAS in action, I guess. But your RAS is something that is massively, massively important. It's the whole thing about we recognise what we tell our brain is important. So it's that kind of thing of attracting positivity, that glib kind of saying the more positive you are, the more positive you feel. It's absolutely true, and this is why. Your RAS will start noticing things that you tell your brain is important. So it's exactly the same. I tell a story that everybody's experienced. If you're looking for a new car, you pick a new car out. So when I changed my car last time, I wanted kind of an older Mini. I thought, right, okay, you don't see any 56 plate minis around. I'll get one of them. And after I got that, there was 56 plate minis everywhere. It wasn't just there wasn't more minis out there. It was just the fact that my brain then thought 56 plate minis were important, so it started seeing them. It stopped filtering them out as just noise that I didn't need to know about. It recognised the fact that my brain thought it was important, so every time it saw one, it flashed up in my brain. We can do this with everything. We are way more powerful than we realise when it comes to controlling our outlook on life. The more we feel negative, the more we focus on the negative, the more we will see the negative. So your 56 plate mini becomes negative, becomes hate, becomes things that make you feel bad. I nearly bursted into song there, if anybody remembers that. That song, I think it was the 90s. But conversely, the more positive we feel, the more positive we focus on, the more positive we feel. So find fun in all the chaos. Look for the beautiful things that are going to happen this Christmas, rather than focusing on the negative, rather than worrying about what you think could happen, rather than telling your brain that whatever it is you're worrying about is the important thing. Flip it and look forward to certain things. Focus on the positives. Embrace the imperfection. The best stories come from when things don't go to plan. So embrace the fact that something is going to happen, that is going to be out of your control, that you may feel really, really bad about, but actually it's not going to be the horrendous thing that it could be. Embrace the imperfection. Embrace the things that could go wrong. And focus on the moments that matter. So we talk a lot about, if you've heard about the 5 ways to well-being, so embrace all of those things. Connection, I was sort of saying, and again, I've focused on the negative about connecting with people you don't connect with a lot during the year, families and friends who you don't necessarily see. You seem to make a special effort at Christmas, and that can bring stresses, but actually it's a really, really beautiful thing, and connection is really important for our well-being. So if it is somebody or some group of people who you are feeling anxious about spending time with, focus on the positives. Have a plan for what to talk about. Have a plan for things that you can share that will be a positive spin on the situation, and look forward to it. Tell yourself you're enjoying it. Tell yourself you're going to enjoy it. Tell yourself you're looking forward to it. Focus on the positives. Gratitude, again, really important. So if you can pop your gratitude journal in your care box, then that's a really nice way every day of just reminding yourself the good things that have happened. So rather than focusing on the negative and rather than stressing about the next day, you can focus on all the positive things that happened that day and write down 2 or 3 positive things that you're looking forward to about the next day. And I promise you will wake up feeling so much better rather than waking up feeling anxious and focusing on the negatives. Be in the present, enjoy being in the present, and most importantly, like I say, forgive yourself. If you need to forgive yourself in advance for any mood swings you have. We are so hard on ourselves. Your mood swings don't have to impact negatively on the whole of the festivities, certainly doesn't have to impact on you looking forward to Christmas. So if you find yourself worrying, if you find yourself thinking that you're going to be anxious or moody, again, that's fine. You're absolutely fine to feel that. There are things you can do to mitigate it. The more you do to mitigate it in the run-up, the more in control, the more calm, the more happy, really bad English, the happier, the calmer you will feel. And when it gets to the days that you are anxious about, you will be in a much greater emotional and physical position to be able to cope with whatever Christmas throws at you. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions or comments, then please do let me know. I wish you all a fabulous festive period, whatever you are doing, whether you celebrate Christmas or not. I hope that the time is a beautiful one, a positive one. And if it isn't, that's fine. There is always tomorrow. Just journal, be grateful for all the good things, and you will get through this without too many upheavals. Happy Christmas, everybody, even though it's still only early December. I hope you have a fabulous week, and if you need anything in the meantime, you know where I am.